Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Shri Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagwatam, first canto, chapter number 1414, text number 35 and 36. So there are two texts joined together. Mangalaya cha lokanam, Shemaya cha bhavaya cha, Aste yadukulam bodha, Adyonanta sakha puman, Yad bahu danda guptayam, Swapuryam yadavorchitaha, Kridanti paramanandam, Mahapaurishikaiva. Mangalyam cha lokanam, Shemaya cha bhavaya cha, Aste yadukulam bodha, Adyonanta sakha puman, Yad bahu danda guptayam, Swapuryam yadavorchitaha, Kridanti paramanandam, Mahapaurishikaiva. Mangalyam cha lokanam, Shemaya cha bhavaya cha, Aste yadukulam bodha, Adyonanta sakha puman, Yad bahu danda guptayam, Swapuryam yadavorchitaha, Kridanti paramanandam, Mahapaurushika iva. Online on Zoom.
Mangalaya Chilokanam Kshemaya Chabvaya Cha Asteya Dukulam Bhuta Ajunanta Sakabhumam Yatbahu Nanda Guptayam Swapuryam Yadvaurchitaha Kridanti Paramananda Mahaparushika Iva.
Mangalokanam Semaya Chapavaya Cha Aste Yadu Kulamboda Adionanta Sakapuman Yadbahu Dandaguptayam Swapuryam Yadavo Vichitaha Kridanti Paramanandam Mahaporusika Iva.
Translation. Mangalaya, for all good. Cha, also. Lokanam, of all the planets. Shemaya, for protection. Cha, and. Bhavaya, for elevation. cha also. Aste is there. Yadu Kula Ambudhau, in the ocean of Yadu dynasty. Adyaha, the supreme enjoyer. Yat, whose. Bahu Dandaguptayam, being protected by his arms. Swapurayam, in his own city. Yadavaha, the members of Yadu family. Architaha, as they deserve. Kridanti, are relishing. Paramanandam, transcendental pleasure. Mahapaurishikaha, the residents of the spiritual sky. Eva, like. Translation: the original personality of Godhead, the enjoyer, and Balaram, the primordial Lord Ananta, are staying in the ocean of Yadu dynasty for the welfare, protection, and general progress of the entire universe. And the member of Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of the Lord, are enjoying life like the residents of the spiritual sky. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. As we have discussed many times, the personality of Godhead Vishnu resides within each and every universe in two capacities, namely as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and the Shirodakshaya Vishnu. The Shirodakshaya Vishnu has his own planet on the northern top of the universe, and there is a great ocean of milk where the Lord resides on the bed of the Ananta incarnation of Baldev. Thus Maharaj Yudhishthir has compared the Yadu dynasty to the ocean of milk and Sri Balaram to the Ananta where Lord Krishna resides. He has compared the citizens of Dwarka to the liberated inhabitants of the Vaikuntha Lokas. Beyond the material sky, further than we can see with our eyes and beyond the sevenfold coverings of the universe, there is the causal ocean in which all the universes are floating like footballs, and beyond the causal ocean, there is an unlimited span of spiritual sky, generally known as the effulgence of Brahman. Within his effulgence, there are innumerable spiritual planets, and they are known as Vaikuntha planets. Each and every Vaikuntha planet is many, many times bigger than the biggest universe within the material world. And each of them, there are innumerable inhabitants who look exactly like Lord Vishnu. These inhabitants are known as Mahapaurishikas, or persons directly engaged in the service of the Lord. They are happy in those planets and are without any kind of misery, and they live perpetually in full youthfulness, enjoying life in full bliss and knowledge without fear of birth, death, old age, or disease, and without the influence of Kala, eternal time. Maharaj Yudhishthir has compared the inhabitants of Dwarka to the Mahapaurishkas of Vaikuntha Loka because they are so happy with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are many references to the Vaikuntha Lokas, and they are mentioned there as Madhama, or Kingdom of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nite Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Ram Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripātamaham Vande Shri Guru Dīnatarinam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Paramananda Madhavam Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all to today's morning Srimad Bhagwatam class. Today we are reading text number 35 and 36. So as we have read various instances in Srimad Bhagwatam, and in this particular chapter, Yudhishthira Maharaj was explaining various bad omens that he was seeing. That was till the verse 32, 32, 33, sorry, before that. And till the verse number 32 and 33, Maharaj Yudhishthir was asking about the various relatives of Krishna, and then from 34 onwards is directly asking and glorifying the qualities of Krishna himself. So 34 is directly mentioning about the Govinda, Bhagwan Api Govinda, and then all the associates. And in this particular verse is describing, or like he's glorifying the Lord, and also the Yadavas who are residing in his kingdom in Dwarka. So it's very beautiful verse, very poetic in terms of also the pronunciation. It can be sung very nicely. At the same time, the analogy or like the comparison which is given in this work is also in this verse is very poetic as well. And it starts with Mangalaya. So it's like again it's invoking about the all good and auspiciousness. So after reading like a series of verses about the bad omens or different descriptions are given, this is like a very nice verse coming up, the previous verse and the few subsequent verses, which is directly glorifying the Krishna and how they are all connected. So as we see in this particular chapter, even though it is named as the disappearance of Lord Krishna, it's somehow like it is sidelining that the main event that has happened, the disappearance of Krishna, but it is giving some indications about it, not directly speaking about it. So for example, if we see certain certain content, for example, like some movie or something, so there is a description about there is an age limit or like it is not appropriate for the children, or like if it is appropriate for children, they don't show some very violent scenes or like something which is which can affect that particular audience which is it is intended to. So what they would do, it they would give some indications that that event has happened, and then they just carry on with the other narrations of the story. Or for example, if there is a scene or somebody's dying, so they would just see, or like that person is, for example, jumping. It, that person jumped, and then immediately they would show some funeral or something like that. They won't show the actual violence or other things, so it's not quite described there. Similarly, the here the audience, all the devotees are there. For them, it's like a very painful description of Lord's disappearance, and also Parikshit Maharaj, he is going to leave his body in very few days. So for him, again, it is very important to say the truth, but at the same time, Shukdev Goswami is just sidelining, he's just giving some indications of that particular event, but not going in detail like how it happened and everything. But of course, Acharyas, they described, Prabhupada also described. Just the other day, yesterday, we were hearing about the lecture, and Prabhupada elaborately gives the whole pastime, how it was happened, and who were the instruments for that particular pastime, where was the location, the Prabhas Kshetra near Dwarka. So all that is described, but here in this particular chapter, it is just like touching and giving some indications of the event, and then just going ahead with the other topics. And this interesting verse has like various levels of meanings. When it is, it can be understood in various levels. First, of course, the direct level which Prabhupada is also giving, which is stated by Sridhar Swami in his commentaries. Mangalaya, so these three words they are focusing: Mangalaya, Shemaya, and Bhavaya. So these three meanings here Prabhupada is giving: Mangalaya as all good, Lokanam of all the planets, and Shemaya for protection. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur take it to the next level. What he describes is the implications, or what exactly it means when when it is said it is Mangalaya. How Lord's protection is Mangalaya. How Lord and Ananta, his brother Balram, is protecting Yadus, and how it is Mangalaya. So, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, what he explains, or what interpretations that he takes, is that Krishna, Adi Purusha, that is Adyo Anta Sakha Puman. So that verse he is taking first. Sorry, that line he's taking first in the translation, and he says like Adi Ananta. So Adi Purush, that is Krishna, Ananta, his brother Balaram, and what they are doing, they are taking care of the Yadus. And what they are giving? They are giving Mangala, Shemaya, and Bhavaya to Yadus. So in the meaning, he is describing, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is describing, Mangalaya means they are giving their prema, they are giving their love. Shemaya is describing as liberation, they are liberating them. They are already liberated, but they are also protecting that liberation. So Shemaya also means protection. Yoga Shema Mahamyaham, we read in Bhagavad Gita. Ananyas Chintayanto Ma, Ye Jana Paripasate, Loka Nitya Yuktanam, Yoga Shema Mahamyaham. So in that, Krishna is describing that whatever my devotee, if he lacks anything, I personally carry that to that devotee. And whatever he has already exiting, all the auspicious, all the devotional service, and whatever auspicious is there, I'm protecting that. So that word Shemaya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained it as the liberation. And Bhavaya Cha, not only liberation, or like does they give prema or the liberation, they also do the Bhavaya. Bhavaya means Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining that Bhavaya here refers to as the material opulences. So as we say like Bhavasagar, we say this material world as Bhavasagar or Bhava. So he is interpreting that Bhavaya as giving the material opulences as well. So they are not living as some poor devotee, but they are living very opulently. So whatever material necessities were there, that is also fulfilled by Krishna and Balram. And Yadu Bahu Danda Guptaya Swapuryam Yadavor Chitaha Kridanti Paramananda Mahapaurashika Eva. So in this verse, he is picking up the word Mahapaurashika. So somebody who is great is called Mahapurush, or somebody who has great power or great strength. So that is called as Mahapurush. And Mahapaurashika means those who are the followers of that Mahapurush. So in a way, he is interpreting Mahapaurashika as somebody who is the follower of the Mahapurush. Who is the Mahapurush? Is the Krishna. Krishna and Balram are the Mahapurush, and they are following. So that's why they are referred as Mahapaurashika in that particular verse. Just like we say somebody who follows Vedas, or we call it as Vedic, or something which is related to Purana, it is called Puranic. So similarly, Mahapurusha, somebody who is following that, they are Mahapurushika. In that way, he is interpreting that. So Mangalaya cha Lokayam, Shemaya cha Bhavaya cha, and here Mahapaurishika. So there are this one level of understanding this particular verse, and Sridhar Swami is explaining again the purport which Prabhupada is giving. He's giving and describing about the various planets and how they are maintaining it. And in the first verse number 35, another point which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur focuses is on, like, Adyo Ananta Sakha Puman. So he is saying that Krishna is taking care of them, but he is not only directly taking care, but majorly he is doing through Ananta, through Balaram, through Adi Guru. So he is taking this to the understanding of devotees. So when Krishna bestows his mercy, he bestows his mercy through through his Adi Guru, through Ananta, through Balaram ji. So through Guru, he gives his mercy to the devotees. And what is that mercy? That is liberation, that is prema, and that is the bhavayaja. Even if devotee is lacking in anything material, that is also provided to the devotee by the Lord. So there is an interesting story which Prabhupada tells with respect to this word Shema. So when Prabhupada was in New York, 1966, that was like very early years of ISKCON. ISKCON was just established in September of 1966, few months back. And this lecture was given by Srila Prabhupada in December 6th of December 1966 in New York, where Prabhupada started reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He would tell some stories, and sometimes he would read out from Bhagavad Gita, and he would ask his students to read one by one, and sometimes he would narrate that. So when Prabhupada was covering that particular verse, 9.22, Yoga Shema Vahamyaham, Prabhupada started explaining that how the Lord personally takes interest in carrying those things for the devotees. He would not just send it through somebody else or through some via medium. Of course, through Guru it comes, but whatever is lacking in devotee's life, that is provided by the Lord. And whatever the devotee has, that has been personally protected by the Lord. And what are those personal things which Lord protects? It's not the inauspicious thing. All the auspicious things that the devotees have, that is protected by the Lord. So for example, we also have ignorance. That doesn't mean that Lord protects our ignorance. Basically, he provides the vidya, he provides the knowledge and then protects that knowledge. And similarly, if you are deceased or something, it doesn't mean that Lord just protects that, like we got something inauspicious. So whatever auspicious is provided by the Lord, not only he gives that, he also protects that. So that is a very strong assurance from the Lord, and that gives the Paramananda, that gives bliss for the devotees, which is also mentioned here. Because just see how merciful is the Lord. He's giving that assurance that whatever you lack, I will provide you, and whatever you have right now, I will also protect that. So for example, your current current life is taken care, and even in the future, if you have the anxiety how to protect it, what will be my destination and everything, that is also assured by the Lord, the mercy of the Lord, that He is giving the guarantee that I will protect this. So coming back to that instance, Prabhupada was mentioning this particular verse, and then he interestingly brings a story of a devotee whose name was Arjunacharya. He was a scholar in the South India, and he was writing a commentary on this particular verse. And when he came to this particular verse of Yoga Shema Vahamyaham, like I personally carry the burden, and provide that to my devotee, and I protect that. So he was thinking, maybe he was contemplating for a long time, and then he was thinking that how would Lord will come for all the devotees. He would come and take care of them personally, but maybe through his via medium, through some arrangements, like he does that, and he protects that. So he cut down that Vahamayam, like I personally carry the burden. So he cut that, and he thought there would be like some alternative words which can be used for this particular verse. And as he was thinking and contemplating, it was already time for his noon bath. So he actually went for a bath. Meanwhile, her wife was also there, and she was figuring out like what she can cook, but she couldn't find anything in her house at that point of time. And soon there are two beautiful boys that they come, and they were carrying lots of like basically they were carrying a bamboo, and there were like two bags attached to that, very beautiful boys, and they are carrying all the foodstuffs, cheese and everything which is required for making the preparation. And they knocked on the door of this particular Arjunacharya's house, and his wife opened the door, and they said like, our Acharya Arjunacharya has actually sent us to give and provide all these things to you so that you can cook for the afternoon meal. And then she, of course, she becomes happy that she received all the ingredients, but at the same time she was thinking that why would Arjunacharya, he would give this heavy burden to this young boys? Why wouldn't he himself carried it, or have given it to somebody else, like the elder ones? So she asked like, why did Acharya, he is not so cruel. Why did he give all these burdens to you? You are so young, beautiful boys. So he said like, no, Acharya was very cruel, and like when we denied, like we that will not carry this burden, then he actually beat us. And then one of the boys, he showed marks on his back. There were some backs, like there's some weeping marks. And then she was thinking like, how can Acharya be so cruel? And then at the same time, like what she did, like she applied some ointment on that and invited those boys and asked them to sit and have some prashadam, like she'll cook and give them because they might be tired. So the boys said, no, 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 we have to rush again, because when the Acharya would come after taking bath, it would be like disturbing for him to see us again, and he would be angry on us. So we should rush. But she still insisted and fed them some prashadam. And later on, when the Acharya came, and then he saw like, oh, everything is prepared. And then he asked like, how did you do that? But his wife was very angry with him, because he was very cruel to this two wonderful boys. She was not talking properly, and in a way, like she was exhibiting her anger in a subtle way. So then he persisted and asked, like, what happened, and how did you get this ingredients, and why are you so angry? Then she said, like, how can you be so cruel that you sent all this heavy loads with this two wonderful, beautiful boys, and you could have carried yourself, or you could have given to one of your elder disciples. They would have carried it. And then when he was thinking and understanding and hearing all these things from his wife, he could understand that it's none other than Krishna Balram who personally carried this heavy loads, this all the ingredients, and removing his doubt, where he was thinking that, oh, maybe Lord is sending some of his representative or somebody else to fulfill that desire, or maybe through his yog maya or other potencies. But no, the Lord himself is carrying the burden for the protection, or for providing it to his own devotees personally. And the scratch on the back, which was shown by one of the boys, is because I scratched that particular verse. And I was thinking that it is not appropriate. Maybe somebody else is doing that. And that's why that mark is there. And now, which is now applied, the ointment is applied by the Mataji. He actually went and opened that particular verse from Bhagavad Gita, and he saw that the scratch is also removed now because the ointment was applied already. And then he started glorifying his wife that you are so fortunate that you personally served Krishna and Balram. You didn't know that the Lord actually came, and he then become like he became very ecstatic. And that's what Prabhupada was explaining, that he was so happy to get this confirmation from the Lord. So when whatever Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, whatever statement that Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, we should take it as it is, and we should try to understand like how it is perceived, how it is actually applicable to us, and how Lord is personally taking that interest in the life of the devotees. And that's why Prabhupada was like, he was narrating this story when explaining this to his disciple, that I started this society, I didn't have anything, but Lord, how Lord is merciful that He's providing all these facilities to us, and now we have this small storefront, and we are doing this preaching, and we are reading Bhagavad Gita. You will see soon, Lord will provide whatever we lack, and He will protect whatever we have. And that prophecy actually came true. So that's a very interesting story. But like that's the very word Shemaya, which means or which is mentioned here. And also, of course, there are multiple meanings to understand this. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he's referring Mangalaya as Krishna Prema, why? Because the highest good can be achieved when we get Krishna Prema. So when he's referring to the highest good, the Mangala, he's referring it to the Prema, which is given by the Lord through his uh, first expansion, Ananta. And Bhavaya, even if there are any material shortcomings, that is also provided by the Lord personally through Guru. So even we see, we can see the verse, the same verse in different levels. Even the second one, like Bahu Dandaya Guptaya. So this verse, this Bahu Dandaya. So Bahu Danda means being protected by his arms. Bahu Danda Guptaya. Guptaya means being protected, covered basically. It's like Lord is covering the devotees like this through his Bahu Danda. Bahu Danda is by his arms. So another meanings that Acharya gives is like how Bahu Danda, like it can be, Danda also means punishment. So how Lord protects, how Lord Guptaya. So when you are protected by the Lord Guptaya, by the Lord, you are also protected by the Bahu Danda. You are protected by the highest punishment as well, which is given by the Yamadanda, like by the Yamaraj or the representative of Yamaraj. So that is also when you have protection of the Lord, you are also protected from all the various danda. Another meaning, like the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are much more inclined toward Mahaprabhu as well. So they are also saying that Bahu Dandaya, Bahu means again hand, is holding the danda, which is like, who is holding the danda? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is coming in the Guptaya form, in the Chanda avatar, in a way that is covered, and he is giving this mercy to all the devotees. And what he is doing? Kridanti and Paramanandam is performing his pastimes about the pastimes of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, and he's spreading that Paramananda to everybody, and he's making everybody as Mahapurushika, as the followers of the Mahapurusha or as the devotees. So that is another interpretation and the understanding of this particular verse. Mangalaya Chalokanam Asti Yadu Kulam Bodhava Adyananta Sikha Puman. So here also Acharya gives various meanings. Another meaning is like Adyananta Sakha Puman. So they are saying, of course, Balram is the first Sakha. So that is his Adi person, like the first person. And Ananta Sakha, he has various friends, And what is doing again? Kridanti and Parmananda. He's playing with this various sakhas and Golaka Vrindavan, and he's also distributing this love, Parmananda, to everybody. So Mahapurushika. So various interpretation, various understanding, where various levels we can understand and relish this particular words of Srimad Bhagwatam. Of course, there are various meanings and understanding. But the important point here is when Lord is bestowing His mercy, He's doing, of course, He's teaching by His own example. At the same time, He's protecting all the devotees by Himself and also through the mercy of Guru. So the importance of Guru is also emphasized here. And even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his life, he has also exhibited these qualities, and he also exhibited that even though the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he comes in this material world, in this Kali Yuga, he also accepts the Guru and he also serves his Guru personally and renders services, asks questions, and um, and that's how, by the mercy of Guru only, one can progress in the path of spiritual life. Today being the disappearance day of Sri Ishwarpuri, the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, his disappearance is celebrated today. And there are various instances where Ishwar Puri is mentioned. The very first instance, which I was mentioning a few weeks back on Nityananda Trayodashi, when Nityananda Prabhu was traveling in the western part of India, and he met Madhavendra Puri, and then there was an exchange between them, and then they went in ecstasy. During that instance, Ishwar Puri was there. He was there as a personal assistant or the personal servant of Madhavendra Puri, and he was traveling with Madhavendra Puri to various places, and he was a very exalted sannyasi, or like very exalted person. And Madhavendra Puri himself is a very exalted person. He has various disciples, Sri Ranga Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Sri Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu as one of his Shiksha Guru as well, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and one of his exalted disciples was also Ishwar Puri. So even though he had many exalted disciples, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, why did he select Ishwar Puri as his spiritual master, even though he had many, many exalted, empowered disciples of Madhavendra Puri? Why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord himself, selected Ishwar Puri as his spiritual master? So there are two levels of understanding. First is, of course, Mahaprabhu is teaching that even as a supreme personality of Godhead, if I come in this world, I take shelter of the spiritual master and I follow in his footsteps, and then only I can propagate the holy names. So before the initiation, even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not inaugurate the Harinam Sankirtan, that is the Yoga Dharma. Even though he was in the role of a Nimai Pandit, he was a very great scholar. He would be defeating everybody. He would be like defeating all the uh, various scholars who were visiting, like the Digvijay Pandit, the Keshav Kashmiri, and all. He has defeated everyone. He was a very expert grammarian, and he would be very expert in Nyaya Shastra and different Shastras. So Mukunda, like sometimes the devotees would see Nimai Pandit from a distance, they would just turn turn away, or like they would change their path. They don't want to cross Nimai Pandit. That was his scholar. That was his nature. That because he would whenever he would see Mukunda, for example, he would call Mukunda and he would say like, "Do you know what is this rule of particular grammar and how do you describe it?" And then Mukunda would say like, "I don't know, Nimai Pandit, you are the scholar one." And then he would give the description like, this is the sutra and this is how you describe it and this is how you use it. And then Mukunda would just humbly bow down and he would go somewhere else. And many times he would give some tattva and he would make some statement and he said like, now defeat this statement. And then Mukunda would say, give some interpretation. And then Mahaprabhu said, no, as a Nimai Pandit, he would say, no, the interpretation is like this. And then he would give many interpretations and then said, now you defend your interpretation by defeating my interpretations. And then he would say something. Then Mahaprabhu himself, he would defend, or like he would defeat his own interpretations and establish a new interpretation. And then that would go on, and he would be very much enthusiastic in debating. And whenever devotees would see that, they would go away. At the same time, they would be praying how nice it would be if this Nimai Pandit would become a devotee. So even the devotees, they were praying for the Lord to become a devotee. So that's how we understand, like even in our spiritual life, the prayers of devotees so important, and the mercy of spiritual master is so important. And eventually, one time, uh, before that, like of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining that when Madhavendra Puri, the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri, when he was at his advanced age, he was bedridden, practically bedridden. He could not move. So Ishwar Puri was there, and he was serving his spiritual master day and night. He would do all the required things for his spiritual master, even the basic menial services which are required for the spiritual master, because his own existence was that whatever is pleasing to my spiritual master, I should be doing that. I should be making all the effort to make make my spiritual master happy. And even though he was the great renunciate, great 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 devotee, he was performing very menial services. He would provide for his food. Not only that, but he would also clean his body. He would bathe spiritual master. And when Madhavendra Puri would respond to the nature's call, because he could not move, he would do that on his bed, and that was also personally cleaned by Ishwar Puri. He would be do it like he was cleaning his spiritual master in that way, and he was so grateful for that service, because he was thinking in his mind, there are so many disciples of Madhavendra Puri, but I was given that fortunate service to actually do this personal seva for my spiritual masters. And he was thinking in a very grateful heart. He was personally serving his spiritual master. And one day, Madhavendra Puri, he became so pleased by the service of Ishwar Puri. He said that I pray to Krishna that you get the highest Krishna prem, and may Supreme Personality of Godhead bestow His full mercy upon you. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that becomes the main impetus of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking initiation, accepting him as his spiritual master, who is the spiritual master of the whole world. He's taking the shelter of this particular devotee and showing that how the Lord himself is subordinate to the devotees of his devotee. So that is the main emphasis which Mahaprabhu wanted to give on that particular instance. At the same time, there was another disciple of Madhavendra Puri. His name was Sri Ramachandra Puri. And he could not understand the exalted position of his spiritual master. And while sometimes in ecstasy, Madhavendra Puri would be thinking, and in separation, he would be saying that, oh, I have come to this advanced stage of my life, but I have still not achieved Krishna. Oh, Krishna, where are you? Where are you? Oh, Lord of Mathura, where are you right now? And he would think, and he would chant, he would cry in that mood. And Ramchandra Puri, because he was still ununified, he could not understand the exalted position or the ecstatic feelings of his spiritual master. What he said, like, oh, you cannot see Krishna. Maybe what you should do, you should focus your mind on impersonal Brahman. You should meditate on Brahman. Then you will feel the Satchidananda, the form, the happiness of that Brahman. And that made Madhavendra Puri so disgusted that he said, like, of course you don't understand your position of spiritual master. That is one thing. But at the same time, first thing that you are transgressing is that, of course, you are instructing your spiritual master. That can still be considered correct, but you are instructing him on focusing on impersonal Brahman and relishing the Paramananda of impersonal Brahman to a devotee. For him, like it's like a hell. He would prefer to serve the Lord in hell rather to focus on impersonal Brahman and experience that bliss. But without the service of the Lord, without seeing the form of the Lord, how it is possible for a devotee? So in that way, when he transgressed that and he offended his spiritual master in that way, all his good qualities were diminished. Basically, he could not get any mercy from his spiritual master. In a way, he started blaspheming everyone. He would see anyone and he would try to find faults in that person. So later on, when Mahaprabhu shifted to Puri, There also he started finding fault with the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even to the point like he would also find faults with the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would invite devotees and for prasadam, and then he would serve them, and then they would say like, okay, now it's enough. He would serve them, no, take a little more, take little more, take some more prasadam, and then he would insist them more, take more, and because of they don't want to offend Ramchandra Puri because he was a senior devotee, they would accept something, and then as soon as they accept that, he would chastise them. Just see how overeating you are doing. Like you are eating so much. Why you are doing so? Because your master is also like that. Your Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also eating so much Jagannath Prasad, and that's why you are all like that. And then he would chastise them. And one time there were some ants in Mahaprabhu's room, and he said like, okay, these ants are coming because in night, instead what you are doing is you are hiding here and eating sweet meats. And ants are everywhere in Jagannath Puri. You will go everywhere, you will find ants. But he came to that level that he would chastise everyone, and because of that, Mahaprabhu like started eating very simple food, or like he halved his portion, whatever what he was already eating very simple food, but he also reduced that portion, and that made devotees very unhappy. So that was like for one disciple, Madhavendra Puri gave mercy, Ishwar Puri, and spiritual master of Lord himself. He became the spiritual master of Lord himself. And for one disciple, he disgusted his spiritual master, and all his good qualities were lost. And all he could see is the fault in the devotees, and he would just chastise them. So these are the implications, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is mentioning that. And after that, Sri Ishwar Puri, he was so simple and very simple person. He was coming to Navdeep, and he was sitting in the house of Advaita Acharya while Advaita Acharya was worshipping. And Advaita Acharya, while doing his arti, he would constantly see this person who was looking very attractive. Even though he was very simple, his naturally is getting attracted towards this devotee. And as soon as he first finished his worship, he came uh, and wanted to ask. But before that, Mukunda, he started glorifying the Lord. He started singing some devotional songs, and just by hearing that, Ishwar Puri started uh, crying, and he was in ecstasy, and he could understand like he's a very great devotee. And then eventually Advaita Acharya came to know that it is his god brother Ishwar Puri, and then he received him. He made arrangements to stay in Gopinath Acharya's house, and there Gadadhar Pandit would always go and learn from Ishwar Puri. That time he was teaching Krishna Lilamrita, the book which he has written, and he would teach to his students. And Nimai Pandit would also come to that place. And one day Ishwar Puri, he said like, oh, you are an expert grammarian. Why don't you edit my books? It would be very nice if you can edit my books. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, how can I edit the book of a pure devotee? Anything a pure devotee says in glorification of the Lord is perfect. But then Ishwar Puri says, yes, that's true. But at the same time, for a pure devotee, whatever he want to offer it to the Lord, he wants it to be the best. So for as a service to the Lord, you should do this service of editing. And then Mahaprabhu came, and one day he said like, okay, this word is not proper. And then Ishwar Puri said, okay, thank you. And he contemplated on this word. The whole night he understood, and he referred to various shastras. And next day when Nimai Pandit came, he said, no, no, the word which I used is actually proper. And then Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, the great Nimai Pandit, he accepted the defeat in front of Ishwar Puri, and he became so humble. And later on, when Ishwar Puri was in Gaya, and Mahaprabhu actually went to Gaya, he took initiation from Ishwar Puri, and he took the Mahamantra. And that's how later on, after receiving the mercy of his spiritual master, Ishwar Puri, he started the Harinam Sankirtan. And there is a very nice verse that comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Mahaprabhu is explaining, like when he was chanting this mantra, which is given by Ishwara Puri, he was thinking, what kind of mantra is this? So the nice verse that comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita is, Kiba mantra dila gosai, kiba tara bal, japita mantra hoir pagal. Like, what kind of mantra you have given me, Gosai? That what is his power? What is the power of this mantra? As I'm chanting and chanting, it is making me mad, making me mad. And even in that stage, And Prabhupada writes in purport, Mahaprabhu goes to his spiritual master and asks, like, you have given me this mantra. When I am chanting this mantra, I am going mad. What exactly it is happening? And then Ishwari Puri says, oh, this is very good sign. You are progressing in spiritual life. And Prabhupada writes in purport, even though Mahaprabhu himself, the personality of Godhead himself, when he chants and goes in ecstasy, he's again still coming to his spiritual master and confirming that whether it is the right path or not, whether I'm following it properly or not. So at no point of time you should think that you are superior to your spiritual master, even though you are Supreme Personality of Godhead himself and you are in the stage of Mahabhava, still you should take guidance of your spiritual masters. And that is something very important and very much important for all the devotees in their life. If you want to progress, if you want your mangala, if you want to shema, you have to protect your spiritual life, and if you want to progress, uplift yourself, bhavaya, then it is very important that how we take the instruction of your spiritual master as one's life and soul, how we should treat the devotees, our god brothers, god sisters, and all the disciples, and how we progress in the spiritual life. Hare Krishna. I think it's fine. Virendra,